teaching your clients how to invest in real estate. You need to be buying real estate for yourself. There's this waterfall of money, and it's sitting right next to most of you guys, and most of you aren't even getting wet. I want you to become your best client. Write that down. Be my own best client. Be my own best client. Guys, I've made millions and millions of dollars selling real estate, but guess what? I made a lot more investing in it. And what's cool is the investing side works for me in my sleep. All of you that own rental properties know this. Now, I want you guys each to start teaching 3 seminars. Why in the world would you only sell one-to-one when you can be selling one-to-many? Think about this for a second. If I do a buyer seminar, a seller seminar, and an investor seminar each week, think about what that means. That means even if let's say I do a buyer seminar on Tuesdays, and I only get 4 or 5 buyers to show up. That's like doing 4 or 5 buyer presentations all at once. That's a great use of my time. Not only that, because it's in front of a group of people, I'm the expert in the front of the room. Each of them has a higher likelihood of doing business with me at some point. Think about, okay, Wednesdays, I'll do a seller seminar, right? So on my seller seminars, if I get 5, 10 sellers there, that's like doing 5 or 10 listing appointments all at the same time. Guys, you got to start selling one-to-many. So I recommend 3 seminars that you should teach: buyer, seller, and investor seminars. And what I would do is I would do my buyer seminar Tuesday, seller seminar Wednesday, investor seminar Thursday. I would do this in this market today. I would go next week to a market that's like 35 minutes away from me. And then I'd go, the next week I'd go 35, 40 minutes away. And then the next week I'd go 35, 40 minutes away from that. And essentially I'd make the rounds and I'd come back to my original area once a quarter. And the more often I can do this, the more I'm selling one-to-many, the more clients I've got coming in. Guys, these seminars work great. Now, when it comes to your investor seminars, again, the first half of today, we're going to talk about investing in real estate. So watch this. First of all, you need to learn to articulate to your clients, maybe even to your spouse, why real estate is the best investment out there. So I'm going to rock and roll through this really quick. So watch this. Why is real estate the best investment out there? Okay. Number one, why is it the ideal investment? Number one is because you get income. Okay, so think about this. I buy a house, and for the purpose of our discussion today, I'm not going to talk about creative finance. I'm not going to talk about any crazy transactions. I'm going to talk about super straightforward, super easy peasy lemon squeezy, $500,000 house with 20% down or $100,000 down. Bought it straight out of the multiple listing service, not even getting a great deal on it, just super easy. Anybody can do this any day of the week kind of transaction. Okay. So I go buy that house for $500,000. Day one, I'm getting $750 to $1,250 a month in positive monthly cash flow. And I'll show you exactly what and where I buy in just a minute, so that you know where you can get deals like this. Some of you are on the coast, maybe you're on the East Coast or the West Coast, and you're thinking to yourself, man, I'm not finding good deals in my area. Yeah, I get that. That's why I don't usually buy on the East and West Coast. I'll share that in a minute. That said, if I put my $100,000 in the stock market, how much money do I make? Zero, right? I mean, if I'm lucky, I'm getting some dividends. So maybe I'm getting 25, 50 bucks a month, but it's not a lot of money, right? All right. So real estate clearly wins there. Now, for all you taxpayers out there, Kyle, the short answer is I'm not sure which Kyle that is. Let me see which Kyle that is. Kyle, I'm not sure if we're going to have the recording available or not. We are trying to broadcast this on Facebook Live as well. Hopefully that's working. And it's good to see you, Kyle. I'm glad you made it. But we will hopefully have that recording available going forward. So just reach out to us after and I'll let you know if it worked or not. All right, so watch this. I'm going to give you one way. I'm going to give you 3 ways today, but here's the first of the 3 ways to avoid paying federal income tax forever. I haven't paid any federal income tax since 2022. And one of the reasons why is depreciation. Now, here's where house flippers make the mistake, right? On house flipping, I got to pay income tax on, especially if I'm doing 5 or more properties per year. I'm a dealer now. All of a sudden, that's income tax, right? That's a problem. But get this. Even if I'm doing flips, or even if I'm doing some buy and hold, I need to use depreciation properly. See, I go out and I buy that $500,000 house. Day one, I'm saving $7,000 per year in taxes I won't pay just because I own that house. Now, if I were to take that same $100,000 and put it into the stock market, do I get to deduct depreciation there? Do I get a tax deduction at all? No, I can defer some taxes potentially, but I'm not getting a tax deduction, okay? So real estate wins again. E stands for equity. Equity is such a big deal. Guys, For those of you that own rental properties, you know this. Every single month, every single day, there are people in your properties paying you thousands and thousands of dollars to pay off your mortgages. And so your equity is getting bigger. Even if the property doesn't go up in value, you're still gaining because they're paying down the mortgage on that property. Who's paying off your stocks? Nobody's paying off your stocks, right? So again, real estate wins. Now watch this. What does the A stand for? That's appreciation. Appreciation. Now check this out. Appreciation is huge. Stock market in the last 30 years has gone up an average of 4.2% roughly over the last 30 years. Sounds great, right? Well, what's inflation been over that same 30 years? 4.1%. So congratulations, you barely kept up with inflation. Stock market sucks. Watch this. Real estate, same period of time, 4.8%. Doesn't sound like a big deal, right? But that 0.6% difference, that advantage over the stock market, you multiply that, you compound that over 30 years, it's a big number, okay? So real estate wins again. And by the way, do stocks ever go down in value? Oh, yeah. In fact, sometimes they go to zero, right? How about real estate? Does real estate ever go to zero? No. Does it ever go down in value? Sure. But even if your house burns down, you probably have insurance, right? So now you're getting a new house. By the way, if you for some reason didn't have insurance, which would be crazy, but if for some reason you didn't have insurance, the land still has value. Even in these areas in California, for example, and shout out to our California friends. By the way, you guys are going through some stuff right now with all this rioting and stuff that's going on down there and the fires you just had. What a crazy 12 months it's been in California. We love you guys. We're praying for you. That being said, even in those areas that the houses all burned down, guess what? People went in and had been buying off those lots for 1.5 to 2 times what they were worth before the fires. And so again, real estate has a huge advantage over the stock market. It never goes to zero. It only goes up. Now, again, can it go down short term? Sure, but it's not going to go to zero. All right. L stands for leverage. And this is the big one. All right. Can I leverage my money in the stock market? Sure. But that's called buying on margin. And that's dangerous. It's risky. And let me tell you something. That's a really rough road. In fact, if you wanted to borrow, let's say you wanted to borrow $100,000 to invest in the stock market, right? It's called buying on margin. Well, guess what would happen? You're going to have to pay an interest rate on that money somewhere between 4.7 and 11.7%, which means that even if you were beating the S&P 500, which, by the way, 85% of fund managers can't even beat the S&P 500, you're still barely breaking even once you pay that interest rate, unless you're getting some crazy wild returns, which unless you're a congressperson, probably not going to happen. Sorry, that's probably not a very nice thing to say about those congress people. But that being said, at the end of the day, leveraging inside the stock market, very risky, very unlikely you're going to do well there. But watch this. Can I leverage in real estate? Absolutely. I can do it safely and I can do it more effectively. I can leverage 4 to 1. If I put 20% down on that $500,000 property, all of a sudden the bank's giving me $4 for every dollar I invest. And now I'm, instead of getting, let's say that the stock market and the real estate went up by 5% each. Now in the stock market, let's assume I'm not going to leverage my money because it's too risky. So I'm going to get on my $100,000 investment, I make $5,000 per year. I take that same $100,000 I put in real estate, just in appreciation, not even counting the other stuff. Just in appreciation alone, guess what? I'm going to make $25,000 in that year at 5% appreciation. That's not counting the income depreciation or equity. Guys, real estate crushes every other investment out there, okay? So we really want to be investing in real estate. Okay.
Club Wealth is the only coaching company on the planet that will literally guarantee that you will double your income or make at least an extra $100,000 your first year coaching with us, or we will give you 100% of your investment back. Click the link below, sign up for the appropriate tier level, and let's get you a strategy session today. And I promise you, I 100% guarantee you, promise you that you will walk away with a heart full of gratitude for the time that we took for you because you got so much value out of that call. Schedule your strategy session today. I promise you'll be glad you did.